Shine, shine, shine your light.
Okay.
Shine, shine,
Okay.
shine your
Good evening. This is Nancy
light.
Mattox with Shine Your
Shine,
Light Radio
shine,
Ministry on
shine
WYTV7
your
in Charlotte, North
light.
Carolina.
Shine,
I'm
shine,
broadcasting from Little Rock, Arkansas.
shine your
I'm so
light.
excited. We had some great things happen this past weekend. Both the radio station, WYTV7, and Shine Your Light TV shows won our Gospel Image Award recipients. WYTV7 won the best radio station, and Shine Your Light is the best TV show. So I'm really excited about that. God is really blessing us. We have a beautiful guest today, and like I always do, I like to say that WYTV7 is a nonprofit. We do take donations, and a $5 donation goes a long way for us to broadcast our shows internationally. So we have a lot of international viewers that watch our show and watch our videos, so I'm really excited about that. So let's get started without further ado. Our guest is a very special guest tonight, a missionary, Jessica Currie. She's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She's up there in cheese country. And she's a published author. The name of her book is Something About a Prayer Life. At age 19, she was homeless with 2 kids and a high school dropout. This young lady has come a long way. She's been through a lot. Her testimony is going to really help a lot of people and give people hope. I'm really excited about that. She also has the ability to see visions and interpret dreams. So we have a lot to talk about. So Miss Jessica, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm an entrepreneur, and I just became an author.
Okay. Well, when I was reading through your bio, I was reading that you got a lot of your good information from your grandmother. That's really special to me. I love it when people get anecdotes and everything from their grandparents. My grandmother was very special to me, very, very good. She was in the hills of East Tennessee when I was born, and she just really had a lot of good common sense to share, a lot of Bible to share with us, and we thoroughly enjoyed that. So tell us a little bit about how your grandmother encouraged you, and what led you to write the book, Something About a Prayer Life.
Well, my grandmother encouraged me my whole upbringing. My mother wasn't around and my father wasn't around, so my grandmother took on the responsibility as in playing both roles. So growing up, my grandmother, she was already a missionary, so we grew up in church. And I wasn't always how I was supposed to be growing up in church. So it took for me to grow up in church and then get out of church in order for me to know that God was important. See, a lot of times we get forced into serving God instead of willingly doing it. So I felt like I was forced. I was more scared of God than I was, happy with God. So it just was something I had to learn on my own.
Oh yes, ma'am. We all are scared of God, and we all fear God, and I think that's what makes us who we are today. So tell us a little bit about you at an early age, how you became homeless. You say your grandparents were missionaries, but first, where were they missionaries?
My grandmother was a missionary at New Foundation, Church of God in Christ.
Okay, I got you. So you had all that when you in your early age, and then when you got in your teen years, you kind of went off the beaten path a little bit. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I was out, I'll say about 14, I did something I wasn't supposed to do. So my grandmother basically just washed her hands with me, and I wound up moving in with somebody that we grew up with, and she went out of town and left me in a house by myself. So I didn't have nobody, absolutely nobody. So I began to sell drugs. I began to do a lot of stuff I wasn't supposed to do. And I wasn't into the things that my friends was into, but I was hanging around them. So it made me more involved in what they liked more than what I liked it. So I wound up getting pregnant, and my grandma accepted me back. And that's where it, began from there.
Well, our grandparents are very special. Sometimes they need to do tough love with you
Yeah.
because it makes you learn your lessons when you're young. And, you know, we've all been through that, maybe not to the degree that you have, but we've all been through that where we've disappointed our grandparents. And they just really, they're such strict Christians. They have to use tough love with you to make you turn your life around. So I'm really happy that she, you know, I figured she would come around. So I guess when you had your first child, she came around and took you back in. That's when she really started mentoring you with love and teaching you what you needed to do. And that's probably, that was probably the plan all along from God, because we never know what his master plan is.
I wasn't even listening to her at that time. I still was a wild teen. She just was my son. And I remember her telling me, if you don't raise your son, you ain't gonna be no better than your mama. And it really stuck with me because I really was rebellious towards my mom because she didn't raise me. She never came back. She never did our hair. She never took us to school. She never bathed us. Did absolutely nothing. So I didn't want my child to be the same way how I grew up. Because growing up, kids would ask me like, "Where your mother at? Where your mother at?" And I was always embarrassed of her being in jail and things of that nature. So I didn't want my child to experience the same hurt.
Wow. So your grandmother gave you a really great sense of the power of prayer. So let's talk a little bit about your book and what the book's about and how that came about and how you did that. That's a big step.
Well, everything was presented to me by God. I never took a pen and paper to write absolutely anything. Every time God wanted me to put something in the book, give me ideas in the middle of the night, and I would text it to myself for me to be able to remember it. And sometimes I felt something. It tell me like, go to the computer, and I'll just begin to type. It was all freestyle. Everything was freestyle. Everything was given by God. I didn't take a pen or paper to write absolutely none of it.
Wow, that's amazing. Your story can really help a lot of young people, because a lot of young people are lost too, especially in their early teens. And they need to know there's hope and that God has grace, and that we have to have an open heart and an open mind to accept that. And it sounds like that's exactly what you did. So on the book, kind of walk us through the book about how it's laid out, because it says something about a prayer life. So is it your life story then?
No.
Okay.
No, about a prayer life. It's motivational. It's like morning motivation. It's a prayer. And then it's talking about the beginning of my grandmother teaching us the first prayer, which was Our Father who art in heaven. It started about how she taught us, you know, about praying and things of that nature. And how before she even got out the bed, she would pray. She wouldn't speak to us. She wouldn't answer no phones, nothing. She would first pray. And that's what the first chapter is, something about a prayer life, is mainly talking about her and how her prayer life was.
Wow. So in the book, as you go forward, you say that God would drop something in you and you would go straight to the typewriter and start typing. So you were actually just translating God's word that was coming through you, right? I mean, so God was telling you what to put on the paper and you're typing it.
Yeah.
That's a magnificent story, because, you know, a lot of times we don't really listen to God, and I can speak for myself as well as for probably a lot of people. We don't know when God's talking to us until after it's over.
Yeah.
And then we realize that God was trying to tell us something, and that we you know, we just didn't realize it. But in your case, you were writing it all down, you were typing it all up, and it created a book. So how's the book doing?
It's doing real good. I actually been nominated by my city and whatever. It was 6 authors being nominated this year, and I'm one of them, all by God's grace, because I actually counted myself out, but God counted me back in. And it just was an honor, because the lady who actually put me in a position to be meeting, because my sister came to watch my kids late. But in my heart, something told me, like, you need to be there. You need to be there. And by me going, I met the right connections, and now I'm being nominated. Well, being honored, actually.
Isn't that awesome? And so do you speak to young women about your story in your book?
Yes, I mainly love to speak to the youth in general, because by me being a teen mom, I dropped out of high school not because I was stupid, not because I really had to. It was because of a selfish decision. I wanted to be grown. I thought I knew everything. I thought I had it all figured out, but I had to bump my head in order for me to know you have to now. You don't know everything. You have to be patient. So everything happened for a reason. Because first I got pregnant, then I dropped out of school, then I became homeless, and everything got to transitioning. I was being attacked by the devil in my all type. Like I was at my, I literally lost my job first, then I then lost the car. I lost everything, literally everything, with 2 children and 19 years old.
My goodness, you went through a whole lot. And you know, a lot of 19-year-olds need to hear that story. They need to hear it because look at you now. You're a, you know, a distinguished young woman. You're a published author. You're a motivational speaker. My prayer for you, Miss Jessica, is that this goes international, which it will. And if it does, that you have people reach out to you that need you to speak to youth groups. They need you to speak to young women, troubled young women, even at you know, at the pregnancy houses where they go when they have nowhere else to go. You didn't get to experience that because you were homeless, but there's a lot of places that take them in and help them during their times of trouble. So you'd be excellent speaker for that. So I want to switch gears a little bit. We only have a 30-minute show, but I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about your ability to see visions and to interpret dreams. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. When I was, I think, 11 or 12 years old, that's when I got my first dream that I knew something wasn't right. So the dream was I was going to a birthday party, and they was going to be serving small pieces of cake. And it's actually in the book. That was the first dream. And the next morning, it felt different. It didn't feel like a normal dream. So I told my big sister, like, they going to serve little pieces of cake. I don't want to go to that birthday party. They going to have little pieces of cake. We get to the birthday party. They didn't have no cake. So I'm like, okay, maybe I was just tripping. Maybe the dream wasn't nothing. My grandmother actually bought a cake, and it was like this size. So they have to give small pieces of birthday cake. They said everybody's gonna have to get a small piece. My sister ran to me like, oh my God, how did you know they were gonna get small pieces of birthday cake? And at this time I thought I had superpowers. So I'm like, I told you. But I didn't know it really was gonna happen. I just told her a dream that I had. So it started from there.
Wow. So what's some more, so are you talking about your own dreams? I think I read where you can interpret other people's dreams too, right?
It really depends. It really depends on what the dream is about, like how unique the dream is. Like I can connect it. I most definitely can connect based off my own dream. And
wow.
do it since I was 12. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So is there any other dream that stands out in your mind later on, like later on in life that really was an aha moment for you?
Yes. And it's actually 2. One of the dreams I had before my grandmother died, I was 12, and I wound up in hell. And while I was in hell, everybody was screaming. Everybody was just, but it was like we was in water, but it was like fire too. So it just was like strange because I didn't know water and fire could be in the same room. So everybody was screaming and all, and I knew I wasn't supposed to be there because I wasn't screaming or I wasn't hot or nothing. So I'm like, why am I in hell? So I began to go up, and when I went up, it was fire, then it was dirt, then it was water, then it was like land, then it was the clouds, then it was further, then it was further. So I imagined I was going to heaven, but this wasn't like a normal heaven. It was a man who I believed to be Jesus, and he was like shepherding like a whole bunch of people. People was following him, but I wasn't paying no attention to him because I was trying to see where I was at. So on the ground there was obituaries, and one of the people that was on the obituary was one of my friend's brother that really is dead. And another one, it was a woman, it was a lady. And I couldn't put out the face of who she was, but I'm imagining basically now it was my grandmother. So yeah, that dream was crazy.
That's wonderful. Do you think in that particular dream you were like envisioning what hell was like? It was like fire and then went up through the dirt and up through the water and then on up into heaven?
Yes, and what I got from the dream is it's basically my own community is who God wants me to be the shepherd too. Because in the dream, we was like in the ghetto. It wasn't heaven. It was like the ghetto. I was in front of my old high school. It was a man that was talking to the people. And like I said, I wasn't paying him no attention, but it was a lot of young people. It wasn't no older people. It was all young people that was following him. So I think he wanted me to get young people to follow Christ.
Well, that's fascinating. That's really very interesting. I'm always intrigued with people that can interpret dreams because, you know, you don't know what your dreams mean, and you're like, it's somewhat disconcerting sometimes. So, but that's kind of an awesome. And what I need to do now is I need for you to share some information of how people can get your book and how they can get in touch with you. If they want to get in touch with you.
Well, my book is on Amazon and it's also at Barnes & Noble. But Amazon, I'll prefer there because I really would like reviews. Because reviews on Amazon is important to me because I would like to know what I need to work on, things of that nature. And contact with me at jcurrie97@yahoo.com. And that's jcurrie97@yahoo.com. And Currie is spelled Currie, not Y.
Oh, that's important. And then also, the name of the book is Something About a Prayer Life. You can find it on Amazon.com. So everyone go look it up and be sure and give her a review because everyone needs a jump start and a start. And you could share this with your teenage daughters, really teenage daughters or sons that are going through something, which will be fantastic. And I appreciate you so much, Miss Jessica, for sharing a few things with us today. And we'll be broadcasting the show, and it will go out internationally. It will also be on YouTube video, which is going to be awesome for you. And you can use that on your resume and things like that. And I hope you get some speaking engagements from this too. Okay. So thank you so much. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you.